For example, this MIRT will try to launch a torpedo at your destroyer. One game turn consists of a full day on station. Each day is broken up into 3 phases: morning, midday, and night. During each of these phases, there will be a sequence of checking for aircraft support, checking for kamikaze attacks, perhaps a round of attack, followed by damage control. Tracks are provided for various of your ship's systems and compartments, where you would keep track of hits, fires, possible deck fires. Your ship starts out in an even keel, and if you begin to flood in any compartment, your ship can begin to list, affecting the performance of your anti-aircraft guns. You may need to intentionally flood compartments in order to right the list and bring your ship back to an even keel. Once combat has been resolved for each wave, you can go ahead and begin assigning repair crews to repair damage in your ship. Modifiers, for example, your engineer or your damage control officer, will come into play depending on what part of the ship your damage control parties are working in. Once a complete turn of 3 full phases is complete, there will be a housekeeping phase where you roll to establish fuel used, ammo used, etc. Your object: survive. Stay on your assigned picket duty station. Shoot down enemy aircraft, protecting the invasion fleet. Okay, well, picket duty. There's one order of business that I must do. I want to get it out of the way first, because I don't want this to be the last thing in your head when you walk away from this video. The thing is, this rule book. I'm pretty sure a kamikaze crashed his plane into this rule book because it's a disaster, in my opinion. There are missing rules, inaccurate rules, rules that are just confusing that had me scratching my head. There's quite a few people complaining about this. In addition, the way the rule book is laid out, even though it's typical in rule and case, I found that I was having to flip all over this rule book to search for the information I wanted. Not good. In all fairness, the designer, Steve Dixon, has promised a version 2 living rulebook will be posted soon. Still, the game as printed ships with a broken rulebook. You're going to have to print up a whole new rulebook or go to Office Depot and get one done. Huge drag. But now that that's out of the way, let's get to the game. If you're looking for a light war game, something that you can set up, play through, and have put away in, say, an hour and a half or less, this is probably not going to be the game for you. It's very involved. This is much more a simulation than a game. However, if you like the theme, and if you like a good simulation, I think Picket Duty may be right up your alley. I couldn't cover all the details in my mechanics description simply because there's quite a bit. But I love the way it models the different angles of attack of the Japanese aircraft. I love the way it models damage and damage control. It does a good job. Couple of minor gripes. At the beginning of the game, you name all of your officers and repair chiefs, and you establish values for their particular skill. And then after that, they really don't do much. I would have really liked to see the role-playing aspect of this game fleshed out a little bit more. The influence of B-17 is clear, but unlike B-17, I never felt any kind of personal connection to my officers and crew. As the game progresses, there's no way for them to be promoted or to improve or level up their skill rating. There is an optional rule where your gun crew's specific positions can achieve ace status, which will give you a good modifier. But the gun crews, they're abstracted out, so really it's just a gun position. So again, I would have liked to see that role-playing aspect fleshed out a bit more. It was kind of a missed opportunity, I thought. Also, all the variety of Japanese aircraft is very nice. It adds a lot of historical flavor. It really goes toward building a good narrative. However, it would have been nice to have some variety in terms of their capabilities. Perhaps the larger, more cumbersome Betty bombers could have been easier to hit but harder to destroy. Perhaps vice versa for the smaller, more nimble aircraft. Another slight missed opportunity there. Also, there was kind of for me personally, there was kind of a disconnect in that there's really one goal, one objective in this game: survival. Keeping your ship afloat and keeping it on station. But the funny thing is, I felt most engaged and entertained by this game when terrible things were happening to me. So it was kind of a weird thing that, again, just kind of kept me from becoming more emotionally invested in the game. Still, this is a good simulation. Steve Dixon, in his designer's notes, said it is not a detailed simulation. I disagree. I think there's plenty of detail there. One big point I wanted to add, in terms of the simulation, I think Picket Duty does an excellent job modeling the age-old fighting man's paradigm of hours of boredom punctuated by moments of sheer terror. Being a simulation, you'll go entire game turns where absolutely nothing happens. And then all of a sudden in the next phase, you're hit by wave after wave of kamikazes, chaos breaks loose, and that's where the game, I think, really came into its own. I enjoyed working my way through it. If you are interested in the theme and the subject, which is certainly worthwhile, as a simulation, I am going to recommend this game. Rulebook issues aside, it's certainly worthwhile. I'd like to tip my hat to Steve Dixon and Legion Wargames for showing some love to the destroyers. Aircraft carriers and big gun battleships always get the glory, but without the destroyers they would have just been giant targets in the world's largest dunking booth. So I appreciate the subject. So anyway, as a simulation, I recommend Picket Duty, designed by Steve Dixon and published by Legion Wargames. That's going to do it. If you'd like to see more of my Wargame reviews, I hope you'll swing by my YouTube channel and subscribe. Thank you for joining me, and until next time, happy gaming!